Is Funko Pop going out of business? Funko Pop, the vinyl figures that once seemed to take over every corner of pop culture, from comic book stores and convention floors to big box retailers and YouTube collector rooms, these wide-eyed figures became impossible to escape. Superheroes, movie icons, anime characters, musicians, athletes. If it existed in pop culture, Funko probably turned it into a pop. At its peak, collecting Funko Pops wasn't just a hobby, it was a global phenomenon that felt unstoppable. For years, Funko Pops symbolized the perfect mix of fandom and affordability. They were cheap enough to impulse buy, but collectible enough to feel special. Fans lined up for exclusives, retailers dedicated entire walls to the brand, and resale markets exploded with rare figures selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Funko didn't just ride pop culture trends, it built a business around releasing them faster than anyone else. But lately, that excitement has been replaced by a much different conversation. Instead of asking which pop is coming next, fans are asking whether Funko itself is in trouble. Headlines about financial losses, debt, and survival warnings have raised serious questions about the future of the brand. So today, we're taking a closer look at what's really happening behind the scenes, and whether Funko Pop is facing a temporary setback or the beginning of the end. Section 1. What's actually happening? For years, Funko Pop seemed like one of the safest bets in pop culture merchandise. The brand was everywhere. Comic conventions, big box retailers, online shops, and collector shelves around the world. Funko built an empire on turning beloved characters into instantly recognizable vinyl figures. And for a long time, demand appeared endless. That's why recent headlines questioning the company's survival caught so many fans off guard. The concern began when Funko disclosed in its financial filings that there is substantial doubt about its ability to continue operating over the next 12 months without improvement in its financial situation. This isn't a casual statement or a media exaggeration. It's formal language used to warn investors that a company's cash flow, debt, and losses could threaten its future. Once that phrase appeared, speculation about Funko going out of business quickly spread. However, it's important to separate panic from reality. Funko is not bankrupt, and it has not announced plans to shut down. The company is still producing figures, signing licensing deals, and operating globally. What this warning really means is that Funko is under serious pressure, and the next year will be critical. Survival now depends on whether the company can stabilize sales, control costs, and manage its debt before time runs out. Section 2. Why is Funko in trouble? One of the biggest reasons Funko is struggling is oversaturation. For years, the company operated on an aggressive release strategy, pumping out thousands of figures tied to nearly every movie, TV show, game, and pop culture moment imaginable. What once felt exclusive and exciting slowly became overwhelming. Retailers were left with crowded shelves, collectors became more selective, and Funko Pops lost some of their perceived scarcity, a critical factor in any collectibles market. Another major issue is declining consumer demand in a tougher economic climate. As inflation rose and discretionary spending tightened, many people cut back on non-essential purchases like collectibles. Funko's business depends heavily on impulse buys and fandom hype, both of which weaken when consumers are focused on necessities. As sales slowed, excess inventory piled up, forcing Funko to rely on discounts and write-downs that further hurt profitability. Finally, Funko's financial structure magnified these problems. The company carries significant debt from years of expansion, and rising interest rates made that debt more expensive to service. Combined with higher manufacturing costs, tariffs on imported goods, and shipping expenses, Funko's margins were squeezed from every direction. With less cash coming in and fixed obligations to meet, what began as a slowdown turned into a serious financial challenge. Section 3. What Funko has done to fight back. Funko hasn't simply stood still while its financial problems mounted. One of the first major steps the company took was aggressive cost-cutting. This included layoffs across multiple departments, warehouse consolidation, and a push to reduce overall operating expenses. While these moves were difficult and unpopular, they were designed to slow the cash burn and keep the company functioning while leadership worked on longer-term solutions. At the same time, Funko began scaling back its product strategy. For years, the company relied on releasing massive numbers of pop figures tied to almost every imaginable franchise, often producing far more inventory than the market could absorb. In response, Funko started trimming underperforming product lines and reducing the total number of releases. The goal shifted from flooding shelves to focusing on stronger, proven licenses that actually move units and generate consistent revenue. Finally, Funko made leadership and strategic changes aimed at resetting the brand. A new CEO was brought in with a mandate to stabilize the business, improve relationships with retailers, and modernize how Funko manages inventory and demand forecasting. The company has also experimented with smaller, lower-priced figures and alternative formats in hopes of attracting casual buyers again. Whether these changes are enough remains uncertain, but they signal that Funko understands the stakes and that survival now depends on execution, not hype. Section 4, what analysts and industry experts are saying. From a financial perspective, analysts have been cautious but realistic about Funko's situation. Many point out that the company's brand recognition is still extremely strong, but recognition alone doesn't pay the bills. Experts note that Funko's ongoing losses and tight cash position mean the company has very little room for error. If sales don't stabilize soon, Funko may be forced to make major financial moves to stay afloat. Some analysts believe debt restructuring or refinancing is the most likely next step. Funko took on significant debt during its rapid expansion years, and servicing that debt has become increasingly difficult as interest rates rose and profits declined. In more serious scenarios, analysts have suggested that Funko could explore asset sales, seek new investors, or even consider a merger or acquisition to survive. These options wouldn't necessarily mean the end of Funko, but they would likely change the company's structure and strategy. At the more pessimistic end of the spectrum, some industry watchers warn that bankruptcy protection remains a possibility if conditions worsen. This wouldn't automatically mean Funko disappears, but rather that it would use legal restructuring to reduce debt and reset operations. Whether Funko stages a comeback or undergoes a major restructuring depends largely on the next few earnings reports, and analysts are watching those numbers very closely. Section 5, the collector community response. Within the collector community, news of Funko's financial struggles sparked immediate concern and debate. Many longtime fans began questioning whether Funko Pops were following the same trajectory as past collectible crazes that burned out after years of overproduction. Social media and collector forums filled with photos of clearance shelves and bulk resellers unloading inventory, reinforcing the idea that the market had become flooded and values were slipping. Some collectors took this as a warning sign and started pulling back. Resale prices for many once hyped pops dropped sharply, and people who had treated Funko figures as investments rather than hobbies began exiting the space. For these collectors, Funko's problems validated long-held fears that the brand relied too heavily on hype and artificial scarcity, making it vulnerable once demand cooled. However, not everyone sees the situation as negative. A portion of the community believes Funko's downturn could actually restore balance to the hobby. If production slows and weaker licenses are cut, future releases could feel more special again. Some collectors are even increasing their purchases, betting that reduced output and potential vaulting could make certain figures more valuable over time. For them, this moment represents not the end of Funko, but a possible reset. Section 6. So, is Funko going out of business? While Funko remains operational, its financial stability is increasingly precarious as the company navigates a period of significant structural pressure. Although they continue to release new products and maintain a presence at major conventions, management has openly admitted that their financial position is fragile. This admission places Funko in a race against time, where the brand's survival depends on its ability to fix long-standing internal issues while under intense scrutiny from lenders and investors. The outlook for the company is neither a guaranteed collapse nor a certain recovery, making the next 12 months a critical turning point. Success hinges on a complex combination of rebounding sales, successful debt restructuring, and a clear strategic pivot to stabilize the business. However, with total debt rising to over $240 million as of late 2025 and a formal going concern warning issued to investors, the margin for error has become razor thin. Should the company fail to secure new financing or if quarterly losses continue to drain their remaining cash, Funko may be forced to take drastic measures, including potential bankruptcy or a sale of the brand. The current situation represents a major crossroads for the company, where the outcome will likely determine whether the Funko Pop phenomenon can evolve into a sustainable business model, or if the era of these ubiquitous vinyl figures is coming to an end. Despite these challenges, there are signs of life in their recent strategy, such as the success of the Biddy Pop line and new licensing deals with major studios. The leadership transition under CEO Josh Simon is focused on a make culture pop strategy designed to lean into high demand trends like K-pop and anime. Ultimately, whether Funko makes a triumphant comeback or slowly fades away depends on how effectively they can manage their massive debt load before their credit agreements reach a breaking point in 2026. Thanks for watching. What do you think? Will Funko Pop make a comeback, or are we watching the end of an era? Comment below, hit like, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives like this. Keep collecting, and I'll see you next time.